Well, thank you for that. Can you see my screen there, Adam? Just let's make sure.
Oh, I can see it, Josh. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, very good. Well, hello, everybody from warm, well, not so warm now, but wonderful Sofia, Bulgaria, where I'm at I'm at a local conference here talking to the developers. And Adam, how are you? Where are you, buddy?
Oh, it is a lovely, crisp fall afternoon in Boston, Massachusetts.
Oh, nice. Good stuff. Good stuff. So we're happy to talk to all of you. This is the American edition of this webinar, right? The North American. Yeah. NORAM. So thanks everybody for joining us on the line. Today we're talking about building Spring applications with JRebel. Oops. There we are. What do you say, Adam?
Hey, everybody. So my name is Adam. I'm the product marketing manager for JRebel at ZeroTurnaround. Just a little bit about why you should care about who I am and what I do. I used to write enterprise Java code for a large financial company, so I know the life of the enterprise Java dev very well. And now I try to improve the lives of enterprise Java devs everywhere by working with ZeroTurnaround and JRebel and awesome people like Josh.
You got the wrong Josh. And I am Josh. I am Josh. I'm the developer advocate for the open source Spring bits at Pivotal, and author of numerous books and videos on Spring and so on. Contributor to many fine projects, including the likes of Spring Boot, which we'll look at today. You've got there, most importantly, our emails, adam@zeroturnaround.com, and myself, jlong@pivotal.io. We are, as always, at your service. Don't hesitate to reach out to us.
And Twitter. I'm always on the Twitter.
The Twitters are, yeah, that's a thing. I'm still not convinced it's not just a fad, but, it's there. I kid. So, yeah, definitely find us a Koblentz and, of course, Starbucks fan. So, cool. Yeah, you should kick things off there, Adam. That'd be
cool. So, JRebel is the Java dev productivity tool made by ZeroTurnaround, which is a company that, we like to say that we make revolutionary tools for developing quality software faster, which is, revolutionary has been kind of done, but at the same time, when people find out what we actually do, they have that aha moment where it actually seems revolutionary because, what JRebel really does is solve a problem that people don't realize is actually a problem. And when they realize that we have the solution for a problem that they didn't even know they had, it's like, wow, okay, I understand. This is actually really cool. How do you do that kind of thing? So that's ZeroTurnaround. And I think you'll see why we're called ZeroTurnaround shortly. So JRebel, which is our product, basically allows you to stop redeploying and view your code changes instantly in your Java applications that run on the JVM. So that means that you don't have to rebuild, restart, or redeploy. You don't lose state in your applications, and you can just keep working and stay in the flow. So what's really cool about something like this is Spring Boot's awesome because it gets you up and running in your app with very little configuration. It starts up really quick, but there is still the downtime and the loss of consciousness of what you were doing, and you get out of the flow. So if you notice this picture of a bacon wrapped Ferrari, what happened was we explained to one of our graphic designers what JRebel does. He's like, oh, okay, so it's like everyone loves bacon and everyone really wants a Ferrari. What makes Ferraris better, I guess bacon does. It's like a bacon-wrapped Ferrari.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Josh, I'll make you a deal. You can have the Ferrari if you let me have that ridiculously large piece of bacon.
Oh. I'd even take a smaller bacon-sized Ferrari if it was a real thing. But anyway, yeah, let's find that piece of bacon.
Yeah, I mean, how did you get a pig with that much fat?
Oh my God, Paul Bunyan size,
Yeah, right. Babe the ox. I'll take that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and of course, that reference only works on the North American version of this webinar because, Paul Bunyan and whatnot. Yeah, so we have over 50,000 happy users, right? So we have We have over 50,000 Java developers who use JRebel and see this value and see this benefit and have a more natural coding experience.
And by the way, that's paying customers, folks. That's an important number.
Mm-hmm. Many peoples.
All the people, yes.
Yeah.
So, what do we got? I think we're going to talk about the JRebel and the Spring.
Yep.
Okay, moving on.
Yep. So I talked a little bit about conceptually what JRebel is, but really it lets you view code changes instantly. So you know, if people are familiar with what Hotswap does, it basically is like Hotswap on steroids. So Hotswap lets you make method body changes and that's it. But we don't require debug mode, and we can do a whole lot more stuff, including Java classes, resource files, and we also support changing over 80 plus frameworks and their configs. And that includes obviously Spring and you know, even really old versions. So like, you know, if you're still using Spring 2 on one of your apps, that's fine. We support that. But also, you know, some lesser used ones and even the EE stuff, even if you're stuck using that sometimes. So, like, why should you use JRebel? Well, developers on average spend one full work month per year waiting for redeploys and restarts of their app servers and their applications, like the building and stuff. So, like, think about this. Like, if you write code for over 12 years, you'll spend over 1 year, like, waiting for your apps to build, right? And that's absurd. Like, that's time. We are not here on this earth long enough for that kind of time sink.
Yeah, you know that XKCD cartoon where the guy's like swashbuckling on chairs and it's like the only legitimate excuse for goofing around in the office, and they suggest that it's compiling, which is nonsense. It's deployment. Yeah,
for Java, it's deployment. If you have like some stupid big C++ app, that might be compiling. But like, or if you use Gen 2 and you just want to update your system, and that's a choice, I guess.
Yep. Not a good one, but it is a choice.
Yeah, I mean, I have a Mac, but the point is that you.
Hello? Oh, no. Hello? Adam? Buddy? Adam, old buddy? Are you there?
Yeah.
Yep, I'm still here. Yeah. Whew, that was scary. It wasn't me. I checked the website and everything.
Yeah. You guys heard me, right?
Oh, I didn't. Carry on.
Amy, Peter?
Bueller. Okay. Anyway, carry on.
Okay.
I'm here.
Heartbeat through. Oh, did you hear him a minute ago?
I couldn't hear Adam.
Yeah, okay, good. Not me. See, This is good.
Did it just like mute and then unmute again? Like what is, okay. Well, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
Great. Good. So, like with JRebel, you make changes to your code, you hit save, hit refresh, and it's done. So you can go home on time, you know, finish your sprints on time, don't work overtime, and you don't have to cut features either. So like typically as developers get closer to the end of the sprint, you know, you guys are stuck with the, oh crap, I have these 18 things to do and I have to get it all done in the next week, right? And what we find is that with JRebel, team velocity actually goes up to about 40%. And that's backed by a bunch of surveys and case studies that we do with our customers and also with Rebel Labs, which is our content division of the company. And so what we're able to do there is, you know, we have the big surveys and we do a lot of like, you know, we do have our questions around this kind of thing. And we allow you to change your code and your frameworks regardless of how complex your app is. Like if you have like, you know, multiple components and modules in your application, that's fine. You can have multiple frameworks. It can run on whatever kind of app server you want or JVM, and more or less like, that all works too.
Sabu.
So,
how does it work?
Well, you'll see. Some of that, but other than that, it's just like stupid complex. Like, oh man, engineering can be hard, right?
No.
So just like a quick, I've heard of these things. They're scary to me. But so like JVM Hotswap is, you know, like built into the JVM, lets you make method body changes. You need to use the debug mode usually, and you're not getting a real representation of how your app actually runs. JRebel 5, which was like the main stable version of JRebel until 2 weeks ago, supported a whole lot more than Hotswap, but still not everything. right? So you can change add or remove methods, constructors, field classes, annotations, that kind of stuff. And then JRebel 6, which came out in the first week of November, we also have the ability to do all that stuff plus class hierarchy. And so we can also change and add or remove superclasses, add or remove implement interfaces, and initialize new instance fields too. So if, for example, you had like a person class and you had several instances of that person class, right? And you had a non-static field for first name, then you added a second non-static field for last name. We would actually pre-initialize all those that field on those existing instances, and we also could recall the constructor if we needed to. But we'd also migrate state across the instances. So you wouldn't actually you wouldn't lose state, and you also could keep using your stuff and have all your validation logic work. So it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. So what doesn't it do? Is there anything? I'm not even seeing a use case I'd like to support at this point that isn't there. But is there something that I can't do?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of little things, right? So if, for example, if you were to have like a while loop that has like a while true or something,
okay.
Anything that like the JVM is like caching, right? So like the JVM has read this thing in, and now it's gonna use JIT and just do it that thing, and never look at and never do a method call or never cross a boundary again. Then like that would be an issue. But you can actually easily solve that by replacing that body of the loop with a method call, and then it works, right? So if you have like a while true and you have like a say hello or something, and you want to change like the print line hello, you'd have to have a method call there because the JVM reads that while loop and just never tries to read it again, like that kind of thing. Okay. Or like WebXML, like things where the app server reads it once and only once, and there's no mechanism to like re-trigger that. That would be an example of like that kind of thing.
I see. Pretty reasonable stuff, I think.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, if we eliminate like 95% of your redeploys, like that's a pretty substantial win.
Yeah, I'll take it. Give me.
Definitely.
Cool. Very cool. Moving on.
So now, like what we support slide, right? So we support, clearly for this webinar, we support Spring, support Tomcat and Jetty and Eclipse and like STS. I think Josh is actually going to use IntelliJ, which is cool. We actually have a very close relationship with IntelliJ, and Anton Arhipov, who's one of our product managers, like directly contributes lots of comments to their bug tracker on a very regular basis. Is one way to say it, right? So for frameworks, like I said, we support everything from like Spring 2 all the way up to Spring 4.1 and Boot. So, if you're on like a really old app or you're on like a newer app, it's all very portable. Also, you will see Hibernate and Struts and also Java EE, Boo, Hiss, God, I love Spring sometimes, especially when I'm trying to like, when I'm working with Java EE and I'm trying to do stuff. Like, Josh, I tell you, that took me like 3 hours to port a basic Java EE app between app servers. Because
I don't believe you. You don't say. No way.
No way. No one's ever said that before.
Was it mostly the reloading to confirm? No, I'm just kidding. Not.
Yes. No. But like, just an example of like how crazy these things are, right? Like at my old job, like I had a 16-minute redeploy on one of my apps. Right? Isn't that nuts?
That's in Java? Or, 16 minutes? I mean, did it like...
It was WebSphere 6.1. And I had message-driven beans and like a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, right? But I wish I had JRebel back then, right? So...
you just had to get it right the first time, every time.
Yeah, or every typo cost me a half hour of my life.
No thanks.
Yeah, right. And then you work until like 8:30 at night as you get closer to your end of your sprint and stuff. 9 o'clock at night. Yeah, it's not fun.
Nope.
No.
Moving on, hopefully.
Yes.
So cool. This is the question, of course, is if it works so great, how do I get it installed? And that is a question for you to answer by me passing. How do I stop sharing? And then what I do, I need to. Did I do it wrong? Make the answer?
Yeah, I'm presenter now. Awesome. Well done.
Nectar.
All right, now I will figure out how to share my screen because it changed the UI. Okay.
Should be a tab at the top of your screen. You can use the Quick Start tab, or you can use the Share option from the top navigation.
Yeah, but that bar's not there this time. Yeah, I know what you mean. It was there. Okay, I'll use Quick Start instead. Okay, cool. Josh, do you see my screen?
I am starting to. Yes, I do.
Oh, wonderful! You may notice the clips is here right now.
I see.
With the Spring Pep Clinic in my Explorer view.
Yeah.
A thing that I use a lot. So the way that one would install JRebel, I'll actually walk you through all three of the major IDEs, right, the major classes of IDEs. So in Eclipse, for example, we are available in the marketplace, and we are always generally one of the top two things. Here we are the number two things, and you would just hit install, and then it would just run you through normal plugin installation the way one would expect. And you also, if you want, can use the update sites. So if you go to Google and type in ZeroTurnaround update site, you'll find it. But the actual address is update.zeroturnaround.com/update-site. And then you just pick JRebel for Eclipse 3.3 plus. Like I said, we do support 3.3 and above, right? So that's like stupid old versions all the way up to now. And that includes, just checking that, running through, same thing as the marketplace, and you're done. Then for actually using JRebel, right, you'd go to the Config Center or the Activation tab. If you have a trial license already, you put it in. Otherwise, you can sign up for one through the plugin right here. And then it is a 14-day trial, right? And then you go to the Config Center. And then if you have an app server, you check the checkbox next to your app server. Or if it's external, you hit Add, and then browse for the root of your app server underneath here. If it's any of these servers, that works fine. And then check the checkbox next to your project. This also is how you would do it if you don't have an app server, like in a Spring Boot, where you're actually starting up an embedded container. This is also how you would do it. We also have a Maven plugin that you can put into your POM file, and that'll generate the one config file for you that we may look at later. And then for IntelliJ, you will also just go through the plugin directory here, and you would just install JRebel the way that you would any other IntelliJ plugin. Then you restart IntelliJ if it made you to. And then you just run with JRebel or debug with JRebel, which is how Josh is going to do it, because he's IntelliJ. He does that kind of stuff.
I swing both ways.
Whoa. I mean, you say these things. But then for NetBeans, we actually have the plugin as well. So if you go, I always do this. I never use NetBeans. I should use it more just so I don't do that. You install it through, it's on this tab. This page is just, well. No, okay, so it's already installed, so it doesn't show up there. But you look at NetBeans plugins, you go to JRebel, same thing. You just install the way with NetBeans plugin. And there's also that run with JRebel at the top, the way that there is for IntelliJ. That's how you install. Like, it is really simple to install. When Josh first installed JRebel, I just gave him a license, and I'm like, hey, it's in the marketplace. And he goes, or it's in the plugin directory. And he goes, oh, okay. And was pretty successful in getting it up and running himself.
Yeah. That's code for if he can do it.
I mean, I'm the guy who couldn't share a screen on WebEx, right? So.
Yeah. No, fair enough, man. I noticed you had that fancy schmancy rebel.xml.
I just made you presenter. Okay.
Awkward. Well,
yeah.
Okay, you're presenter again. You had that web.xml. I'm still there. Whatever. I'll be a presenter. You had that fancy schmancy.
Yeah, rebel.xml file, man. It does awesome stuff.
How can you does it, would you check that into Git, or would you recommend somebody did that, or how would you parameterize it so that it, because I noticed you had a path that specified users, your account name,
sure.
etc.
So, I mean, like, typically what people would do is they'll just rely on the plugin to generate that file for them whenever they're using it, right? But also, let's say, for example, you do have a more complicated file structure in your project, then you actually could specify a custom rebel.xml file. And then you would be able to use -d parameters as environment variables inside of that file. So the Rebel XML is like just an ant syntax file. So you can actually specify, dir set, jar set, all kinds of stuff like that. And then you can also use the environment variables inside there. So if you wanted to, in your team, check it into Git, and then just make sure everyone put the environment variable on the JVM parameter option path stuff, that'd be cool. And people do that all the time.
Very cool. Don't let me forget to just type that out as we actually walk through the example, so I can see what that looks like.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so right, this is for later, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this. So I guess we're going to begin the show and tell of what it's like to use JRebel with Spring and with Spring Boot. So I'll go ahead and take the baton here. We're going to look at a very sort of standard Spring Boot application. You can start, as always, building a Spring Boot application by going to start.spring.io. Is that all nice and zoomed in?
Yeah, it's perfectly visible to me. I'm good.
I mean, is the font like 2 inches high?
No, not Start Spring.io. That is not.
Oh, bummer. Okay. So go to this wizard and you just fill out the group. Normal sort of Maven pro forma stuff. Any kind of build artifact here. Group ID, artifact ID, the name of the project, the description, the package name. I, of course, will choose meaningful things that will resonate with all those who use this. JRebel for the win. For the win.
It's so much win. Such win. Many wizards.
For the win, you can choose a Maven or a Gradle project, of course, same as usual, or a Maven artifact or a Gradle artifact instead of just a build file. Choose the type of application, as Adam mentioned earlier. This works. Spring, of course, has a ridiculous surface area. I mean, in terms of different deployable targets and platforms and so on. But for Boot, the default is an embedded web server. So you just choose jar and you're off to the races. But of course, this doesn't change your experience using JRebel. You can use a classic environment like a WebLogic or a Wildfly, or you can use embedded. It's all fine. Choose your Java version of choice, or JVM version of choice. In this case, I'm going to choose 1.8 because it's awesome sauce. Choose the language. In this case, we'll choose Java. Choose the Spring Boot version. And then choose the project dependency that you'd like to use. I'm going to go ahead and stipulate that I want JPA. I'm going to say that I want to use Timeleaf among the many different templating options I have. I'm going to say that I want the remote shell and actuator. Actually, I don't even need this. We can leave that out for now. We'll say that I want, what else do I need? I guess that's enough. I mean, we'll understand by this point. Hit download. Hit show in Finder. Command C, Command Shift D, paste for T-win. Okay. I'm going to open this up.
I love it. You have XML just bound to IntelliJ.
Yeah, I never use XML anymore for anything besides Maven, so it's just sort of like the one thing I needed to do. It's safe to say that it should just open up IntelliJ, and of course, when IntelliJ sees that it's a project descriptor, or it can be used as one, it opens up the project.
Yeah.
So.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. Well. That's a start. I'll take it. So hit enable auto config. Make sure that it gives me the or auto import. Make sure I get my new jars. I'm not going to actually change the jars that we're using very much here, but just so you can see, we've got the Spring Boot sort of standard starter dependencies. So Spring Boot starter data JPA, Spring Boot starter web, Timeleaf support. These, of course, correspond to the checkboxes on the wizard, and then we have the Spring Boot starter test dependency, which we didn't have to specify, but which just worked. Other than that, you have a basic unit test, pretty standard. I'm going to make my font ginormous for you guys. Bigger it. Okay, and then We have a public static void. What?
It is biggered.
It is indeed biggered. So Spring application.run, same stuff. This is of course mostly Spring, but this is Spring Boot. I think that this annotation should be renamed. I want to go home early, very much in keeping with this idea of rapid iteration and agility that Adam alluded to earlier. So we're going to go ahead and just build something, and we'll do that as an opportunity to kind of see, JRebel in action, really. So this is just a standard Spring app. I'm choosing a fairly boring stack here. I'm choosing JPA and so on. So at entity, okay, it's going to be a regular object. I'm going to type in at ID and generated value to tell JPA that I want this object to have a primary key that's automatically generated for us. Specify this field called reservation name. Reservation name. Getter done. Get it. Huh.
I look forward to all of our future dinners based on these reservations.
Bacon wrapped marmalade.
Yes.
So let's see. And you tease, but I actually haven't eaten dinner. It's now 8 o'clock here in Bulgaria, and I could use some bacon.
You can go get a sandwich. It'll take you an hour.
Yeah. So here we go. Go. I've got a basic JPA entity, nothing particularly fancy. Mm-hmm. What else do I need?
H2.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Good point. I need a database. This won't work without a database. I have a lot of options. I can create an embedded database, of course. And that's what I'm going to do. I can just let Spring Boot give me an embedded database by using, by default, it'll defer to the dependencies on the class path like H2, Derby, HSQL, etc., and give me an embedded data source. But of course, otherwise, I could specify, at bean data source, blah blah blah, right? And however I want, right? So that'll work just as well. We will ignore that option for now. I want something to actually manipulate my reservation data. So I'll go ahead and build service class reservation service and
services.
You look for places in Bulgaria.
Go away. Seriously? Hey Siri just woke up. I unplugged it. At transactional. Okay, voila. Services. I'm going to inject the I'm going to inject the JPA persistence context. So entity manager. Okay, and now I can just build a regular service. Let's see what I get. I can say public reservation. Well, for now, who cares? So I'm trying to save space. Create a reservation. String RN. So that'll be reservation, new reservation, pass in RN, this dot entity manager, create a persist the object reservation like so. I guess I've moved pretty far along the lines here. So let's cut that for a second. I'm going to go ahead and start running. I'm so used to just running with JRebel that I forget that at some point you actually have to start it, You can't restart you can't reload if you don't have it running. That's, I suppose, tip number one.
You can't not restart. You can't not restart.
Hey, you. None of that. So let me reintroduce my code here now. It's up and running. Let's see where did I was. So I have a method. I need to return the object reservation, like so. So that's there. That'll work. That'll do the right thing. So hit public. Why not? Actually, there's enough space. It turns out. I want another one to sort of give me everything in the database. So I'll say public list of reservation. Find all, like so. Return this dot entity manager dot create query select R from reservation R. Does that look right? Looks good.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So that should be okay. I think now is a good time to try it. I should create an object up here to
populate it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just do
one of those like initializing things.
Oh yeah. Initializing bean.
Yes. Initialize all the things.
All the things. So this is just gonna be a regular Java bean that will, I'll just use it to play with our newfangled reservation service. It's going to be, and again, if anybody who knows a little bit about Spring knows that the initializing bean interface has been since time immemorial a simple way to get a callback when an object has been initialized. In this case, I just want to create an object that gets a callback. I don't actually have any other object to initialize. I just want to have some place that gets a hook. And so what I want is to create an implementation of that interface. And of course, if you look at it, it's an interface with one method after property set. And that, of course, maps very, very nicely to Java 8 Lambda. So I can just go up to here, hit replace with Lambda. And that's the new syntax, right? So Java 8 Lambdas are basically anything that's an interface with one abstract method can be, you can use the syntax sugar, okay? So now reservation service dot create reservation for Adam and myself. Let's see, for Josh, for my pal Peter, okay. And then we're going to say reservation service dot find all dot for each, and of course here, same as before, I could use the anonymous object syntax, of course, but it's much easier to just use a lambda. I'm going to do that. And here, I just want to print out everything that I'm getting back from the database, like so. So I'm saying reservation. But even that, if you think about it, all I'm trying to do is call a method every time for every object in the collection. And I'm just passing in, the argument to my lambda. I'm forwarding it, if you will, to the print line method. So I might as well just get rid of the middleman and use the the method reference syntax that was introduced in Java 8, like this.
So pretty.
That is pretty. Look at that. That's fabulous. Good stuff. So I just do Command F9, and we should find the logs down here.
Yep, Beans got reconfigured and stuff.
It's pretty. It is pretty. It's good stuff. So, do I want to add somebody else just to see if that does the right thing? Okay. Good. Nope. What did I do here? Oh, well. Sadness. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and, for fear of error, restart that. Cool. So that shouldn't happen again, but it's weird. I think there's something about demos failing whenever they're being demoed. Whatever. Moving on. Let's build a REST service. They say that any application of sufficient complexity eventually sends email. I think in this day and age that they actually sprout a REST API. So I'm going to say at REST controller class reservation.
And have services that talk to each other as if they were email.
Exactly. REST controller, I'm going to say at autowired private reservation service. Okay, just injecting a service. I'm going to create an endpoint. And of course, I'm doing this for ease of reading on the screen, folks, but don't do that. Use a constructor. It's better for your code. Okay, so reservations like so. Collection, reservation, reservations, return all the reservations, return this dot reservation service dot find all. Okay, that looks like it's worth trying out. Let's go ahead and hit Command F9. So what I'm doing is I'm hitting Command F9, which in this particular ID just has the effect of rebuilding the code. There's our bean. Why did that suck so hard the first time we tried that?
I don't know, but now it is getting
it's working.
picked up and rerun and everything.
Makes me happy.
Like it should.
Good. And by extension, I should be able to go to here, reservations, and there's my JSON data coming back from the database. Now in there twice, but who cares? It's an embedded in-memory database, so each time I hit Command F9, it'll rerun that. So that's the effect you get. Well, let's see, what else do we want to do? I mean, this is just, after all, standard REST, so I can do things like say, okay, let's say I decided that I wanted to make this, I'm going to choose an arbitrary name. I think reservations is actually probably the right one, but you have a lot of flexibility. I can actually say, like, API, that should do the right thing. So it'll be API/reservations, like so. That shouldn't work. Yep. And then I go to API, and that should work, right? So there you go. It's remapping the endpoints for us dynamically as we go.
Yeah, and you can also see in the console, like, you can actually see, like, the JRebel messages where, like, different various plugins get, like, remapped and what we do with them as well. So
look at that. So adding the bean for, it knows about JPA, it knows about the services, and it sees that Spring MVC changed. So this is the stuff right here. You normally see the request mapper, mapping handler, mapping stuff in the startup sequence, but it actually knows about it and is doing the right thing for us here. That's cool. I'm a big fan. And of course, you can change things altogether. This wouldn't be a real demo if I didn't have a web page of some sort. Got to have a real demo. Okay, so build a regular controller, like so. Excuse me, here we are. Let's enter. Class, reservations, MVC controller. And then I'm going to build a, same kind of thing. I'm going to take my reservation service, inject it into here. I'm going to say request mapping, reservations dot for the win. And this is just a standard Spring MVC, controller. So I'm going to have injected into the controller method a model object, which is a glorified hash map. And basically it contains keys and values that you can see reference from any template that you render. This template in this case is going to be named reservations. This is a string that we passed into a view resolver, which will then apply some sort of heuristic, typically prepending it with a suffix and appending prepending it with a prefix and appending a suffix. So it'll be something along the lines of source main resources templates. $X, $.html, where in this case $X is the template name, the reservations string there. So model.add attribute, reservations, this reservation service find all. Okay, that looks right, I think. Maybe, kind of. I'll buy that. We need the actual template itself. That would help. So I've got such a template laying around. So again, this is otherwise, nothing up my sleeve, so to speak. Empty static directory, empty templates directory. New file, reservations.html. And I'm going to cheat a little bit. Okay. So there's my little Timeleaf template. I'm using Timeleaf because it's awesome sauce, HTML5 friendly templating. You can use whatever templating mechanism you want. Of course, JSP is fine. Spring Boot, of course, we don't recommend JSP, but it works just fine. Of course, that's great. And then Velocity, FreeMarker, Groovy templates, etc. Lots of good stuff. Timeleaf is what I'm going to use here. It's HTML5 friendly, so you can actually use it and then render and give it to somebody and give it to a graphics designer and not get the finger in return, because you can actually open this up inside of your Dreamweaver or what have you and render it with some fidelity. So that's actually very powerful, right?
Yeah.
Timeleaf. It makes you not get the finger. How's that for an endorsement? So I think we've got everything we need here to go, go, go. Even if I don't have everything I need, I can just go, go, go anyway. That's the sort of the point. So this is still working, right? This is the REST endpoint. More data. More data. And we're going to go
all the data.
All the data. So there's our simple little template that I've just added.
Yeah, and that clearly was pretty cool. Like,
yeah. I'm not a designer, naturally. So it was very basic.
Hey, that looks good. You don't take that away from yourself.
Well, I won't quit my day job, okay? Let's see. So obviously other stuff works just fine. So I'm actually running this with the JRebel executor. I'm not debugging it. So, you know, a lot of IDEs will reload templates if you debug it. This should work if I change it, right? So
yeah,
what am I going to do? I don't even know what I'm doing. But here, I'll just say style, border, 1px solid, black. Who cares? I don't know. You know, F9. Okay. There we go. So that was just there. I mean, you have the full sort of range of motion there. Let's see. What if I wanted to have some sort of, can you say, property file?
Yeah.
Sort of configuration property?
It's something that we should be doing.
That sounds like a thing, right? So Spring Boot has this handy-dandy API that lets you create POJOs and then map them to properties. It's pretty neat. It's also a nice way to avoid fat-fingering property values or property key names. So the approach here is to say configuration properties. I'm going to mark it as @component in this case. And I say class reservation properties. And this is it's going to be applied to all properties that are in the property file, in this case, application.properties by default, or application.yaml if you have snake YAML on the class path. All properties that are prefixed with reservation dot whatever will be mapped to equivalent properties on the object here. So I can say private string, I don't know, what's a good string? Private string, private int, max guests, some arbitrary number here, sure. Some arbitrary thing. Just to keep it simple so I don't have to worry about it. Okay. Get. Okay, so now we have that. And if I want to use that in some sort of code, for example, here, say @autowired private reservation properties, like so. And I can create a new endpoint here, request mapping, max, just to prove a point. Okay. No, not in this one. Somewhere else. In the REST API, it's easier for me to get a result that way. Going up, going up. Okay. String. I don't even know what happens if you return a long. I suspect you'll probably just get an object, but I'll convert it to a string anyway because I do know what that does. So.
Yeah, then you're in auto-boxing territory. Who knows?
Right. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm sure it probably does something useful, but let's find out later. Okay. So, right. Integer. What did I say? Integer.
Yeah, and then that's good. That's
but
good.
I wasn't sure if I defined a long and integer. So okay, so that's a MVC endpoint that'll return the property from the property file. If it's there, should be command F9. It's not there at the moment, so we'll go ahead and see it first. Refresh that. That should be just fine. More data. Go to max. What did I do?
You haven't put it in yet.
Right. Put in what?
The property.
Okay.
Right.
Somehow 10.
You need to put the prefix on it.
Right. Reservation. Okay. Yeah, reservations.max, right? So hit command F9.
It's doing something. Yep, still going. That's why.
Yeah, but that's not there. put it in the right class. I'm a little tired today. String max at request mapping. It's very strange too, because that was just there. Okay, well, anyway, reload. I wasn't actually even trying to show that, so I'm going to restart and show you the thing that actually makes more sense here, which is that the properties themselves get revived. So there you go. I wonder if I have I need to get a new machine. This thing is so old. It's thanks to things like
couple folks saying add/API to the URL string.
Oh, see, thank you guys. So that did work. Okay, that did work. So
or API max.
So that works. So I'm going to go ahead and try again, this time with more gusto and confidence. It's going to be some other endpoint, string, other, whatever, okay? Sadness. That was my fault. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing as before. I'm just adding a new method live here. And I'm going to go to API / some other endpoint. Some other endpoint. And then that works there, right? There's that value. And now if I go to the property file and change it to be 11 or something else, Command F9, and you'll see that here. There it is, right? So you get the live reloading of properties, you get the live reloading of templates, you get the live reloading of code.
It seems 3 hours. Look at that.
Yeah. Courtesy reminder. Thank you for that. I wonder if it knows we're live and on screen. Go away.
Yeah, it's just a hook I have. I just hit a little button on my desk.
The opportunistic reminder. Okay. Well, I think that's kind of a roving tour. I mean, this doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of what you can do with this stuff, obviously. But remember, everything except for, what was the one thing that didn't quite work? The first time was this initializing bean. Right. But everything else, except for, save for user error in this case, for the API bed, everything else I added after we had started running the application. And that's actually not bad. I mean, we built up a little web app, some REST services. I got some configuration goodness, got HTML, got a JPA entity in there. Life is pretty good. So,
and also remember, everyone, like the Spring Boot support in JRebel is like pretty new. So like we definitely want feedback. We want to find all of your use cases to make sure that like everything that people want supported is. So with that, I mean, like, with JRebel, you can stop redeploying, right? You make your code changes, go ahead, hit refresh, and everything works. You can view your code changes instantly. And like I said before, we have over 50,000 people who actually give us money to use this thing. Yeah. The amount is only it's only $1 a day, which is actually pretty funny because it's people say things are $1 a day, but it's actually $1 a day.
And it's worth it too. Again, even if you're, let's take a pessimistic, cynical programmer's perspective and assume that all the numbers are lies and BS.
Right.
And that even if you're doubling, for exaggeration, the idea that you get 40% more productivity by using it, that's still, that's awesome. I mean, 20%, and I know that it's actually 40%. I know the numbers, I know the reports, but again, any number above 0 would be worth $1 a day, especially considering what is often at stake in, software. If you can go faster.
Yeah, especially because we find on average people used to save over 5 weeks a year. And if you're using Spring, right? Spring's already really fast, right? And so Spring it is 5 weeks a year.
I don't think there are some. Let's go ahead and say 3 weeks, but I understand your point.
Yeah, and but if you have let's say if you are using something big and slow
what's here? What's here?
Yeah, you said that word. I don't know what that means, but
what's here?
But yeah, they're way longer. When I had my 16-minute redeploy, I'm sure that I spent probably 2 months, 3 months a year, right? I spent years a year waiting. Right? So with JRebel, you can go home and see your kid, right? Don't sit at your desk trying to finish a sprint. Go home, see your kid.
Well, that actually starts. Yeah, that actually starts to figure into your burn rate. You start thinking, well, gee, I mean, can I add another person or just use JRebel So do I need to add another person to get more velocity in my project, or just use JRebel? You know?
Oh yeah. Like companies love this because it's like, oh wait, I can not have to hire I don't have to hire a bunch more developers to get the same output. Like that's awesome, right?
And then when you do have are more productive and play more ping pong.
And we should pay them better, right?
Yeah.
So
sure. Well, that's the natural thing.
Of course, that follows. I don't see there's any problem there.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Well, we could do some questions. I've got questions. I'm sure you must.
Yeah.
While you're staring at our screen, do take notes of the Twitters and emails and stuff. Starbucks Man and Spring Central. JRebel trial, check it out up there. The Spring Boot bits are, of course, on spring.io/projects/Spring Boot, and that little wizard that I used here today to get going, which is itself, by the by, a Spring Boot application, is at start.spring.io. So now back to Peter for questions. What do you think, buddy?
Yeah. Well, actually, just one for the moment. So, folks, if you have questions for Josh and Adam, now is the time. It seems that most of you are still with us, so please feel free. One question from Minosher. I might be saying his name wrong. He was just curious which web container you were using during your demo. It looked like Tomcat to me when I saw the standard out going by, but...
So Spring Boot, by default, will give you an embedded Jetty.
Jetty.
So this is actually a jar, not a war, and it's public static void main. So I'm not even deploying to a server. Of course, you could that's the point. Now that velocity you get by having embedded Jetty, you can get that by having JRebel. I mean, embedded Tomcat and embedded Jetty are great because they're fast and they're lightweight. And I still think they're actually the right model for deployment from an operations perspective. But you don't need to fear the WebSphere. Hey, see what I did? That was a wonderful payment for the marketing slogan.
That was so good.
Yeah, don't fear the WebSphere. Thanks to JRebel, new brand, right? So you can use any container you want. We're using embedded Tomcat here. Spring Boot, of course, by default supports embedded Tomcat 7, and 1.2 it'll be embedded Tomcat 8 by default. But of course, you can go back and you can switch to embedded Jetty. There's good documentation there. And if you want to turn this whole thing into a WAR, which you could also have done out of the gate by having selected WAR in that start.spring.io wizard. Mm-hmm. That'll work just fine as well. So any servlet 3 container. In fact, Spring Boot will support any servlet 3 container, but remember, Spring itself still supports servlet 3 as a baseline suggested, but 2.5 for WebSphere.
Right, yeah, 2.5, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so that goes back, almost a decade now of support.
And JRebel works with Tomcat 4.
Yeah, don't use Tomcat 4. Please. I think it's been rewritten since then. I mean, you're missing an era.
There are no bits that are the same.
Yeah.
So hey, Adam, Karthik asks, if I have 2 laptops for dev, only one is used at a time, no concurrent usage. Does he need to buy 2 licenses?
No, I mean if both laptops are Karthik's laptops and he's just working on one at a time, then yeah, it's definitely just one license.
Okay, cool.
Reasonable, actually.
Yep, yeah, that's very reasonable. Yeah, you're welcome, Karthik. No problem. And Tony asks, would JRebel reload when the application adds a brand new jar?
So, Tony, if you're talking about adding new Maven dependencies while your app's running, that's not supported because if you think about it, it's not even a good idea because you don't know what is actually happening when you add a new jar, when that jar gets used, and if there's any initialization event in there or something. But if you're talking about I have several modules in my project and they're all built as jars and used inside of each other, then you can actually do hot patching on all of those jars at the same time, and you'll be able to get the benefits across all the different layers of your app. Like a multi-module Maven. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Multi-module Maven is the exact same way. So as long as there's a rebel.xml file inside of each of those artifacts, then it all works.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. So Sankar asks, how is this different from Grail? And Josh, this one's for you. How is this different from Grails inbuilt Jetty? Any better features? Same thing?
Inbuilt Jetty?
I think he's asking about when you use Grails with Jetty, the embedded Jetty in Grails. Basically, how is JRebel different than that kind of thing?
So, specifically, as it concerns Spring Boot, we support embedded Jetty. So in that respect, it's no different at all. Grails 3 will be based on Boot, so in that case, it'll be even less different, and you'll get embedded Tomcat or embedded Jetty. Mm-hmm. So I suspect I suspect that the lines of code used to initialize embedded Tomcat or embedded Jetty right now in Spring Boot versus Grails 2.x are different, but it's the same thing. It's the same embedded Jetty and the same embedded Tomcat.
But if Sankar means the built-in Grails reloading versus JRebel, the difference is JRebel supports Grails and everything else, whereas with Grails, your tech stack has to be Grails. You have to do whatever Grails does.
Right. I'm guessing that's what he meant. Sankar, if you're still with us and you want to clarify, please feel free. Encore asks, how is Maven multi-module supported with JRebel? And I think you were just saying it isn't.
No, it is.
It is. Okay, excuse me. Sorry. I misunderstood you. My apologies.
Yeah, there's actually there's a JRebel plugin that you can put into your parent POM file, and then that'll generate Rebel XMLs for all of the submodules. It's really easy, and there's great documentation on our site about the Maven plugin.
Okay. Well, we are 1 minute from the end. We are out of questions, so I'm going to take this moment just to tell everyone, we do record these webinars, folks, so they will go up on the YouTube channel and on the blog. So if you're interested in getting a notification about when the replay is available, you want to share it with your coworkers or rewatch part of it or something, we will post it within 2 weeks. Again, there's always a blog post, so you'll see it pop up at spring.io/blog. And I believe there's an Atom feed that you can subscribe to there. Else, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel to get a notification. And there's a shortcut for that at spring.io/video where you can find those. Also, Josh and Adam, are you guys comfy with uploading your slides to SlideShare? We can do the usual.
SlideShare and Speaker Deck.
Sorry, I meant to say Speaker Deck. Sorry. Upload the slides to Speaker Deck, and then we'll link to them in the YouTube video description and on the blog. So if you're looking for the slides, you'll get those there as well.
Right. Done.
Cool.
Will do.
All right, Ski. And then I'd like to invite you back. We are continuing our microservices webinar series, which was kicked off by none other than Josh Long, Esquire. And we'll be continuing that. We're going to be having on December 2nd, we're going to have Stefan Maldini talk about microservices and Reactor, which I think is pretty cool. So if you're interested in Scala, Akka, Reactor, just asynchronous sort of non-blocking use cases in general, and microservices, I think this is going to be a pretty darn cool one. I would check that out. That's on December 2nd.
I'll be there.
I think with that, I'd just like to remind you that if you are looking to download Spring Boot, we really encourage you to do it via Maven and Gradle. If you absolutely need an HTTP download, you can get them. We don't really make it easy, to be honest, but it is possible. You can get them from our Artifactory server, and that is located at repo, R-E-P-O, repo.spring.io. And then, if you're on a military network or closed network or something, and you desperately need HTTP downloads, you can do that. Okay, so I think that was it. Josh,
that was fun.
Yeah, that was really fun. Adam, just thanks so much for joining us. Really excited about the release of JRebel 6, and we really let's try to get our joint communities to give us some feedback, and you folks particularly on the phone, if there's things you want to see in support that Spring Boot and JRebel can do together better, wider, faster, harder, please tweet us or get in touch with us and let us know.
Yep.
How do you guys do that at ZeroTurnaround, Adam? Do you have like a Jira or?
Yeah, we don't have a public Jira, but like if you tweet at us, if you email me or any of the other like people who like that are like in the community for JRebel, like we make these things happen. We're always looking for feedback.
Yep.
And making sure that we can help support your community even better is pretty important to us.
Yeah. I wanted to quickly say thanks to the great folks at the Java 2 Days conference here in Sofia. My hotel Wi-Fi is not particularly awesome, so I was a little worried about whether I'd be able to give this webinar, but they totally hooked up some great fiber so I could be on this webinar.
They are sponsoring your internet right now? Is that what's going on?
Yep, and I'm just very grateful. Totally hooked it up. Great conference, great Wi-Fi. Thanks, guys. And
nice.
So, you know what I mean?
Nice. All right. Well, yeah, my jeans are sponsored by Diesel.
No.
And
my coffee is sponsored by Starbucks.
That's right.
I have a Coca-Cola, but I'm the Pepsi taste of a new generation over here.
Actually, Josh really should be sponsored by Starbucks. But okay, we're gonna hit it. Thank you very much. We're really looking forward to having you back again on December 2nd. And thanks for attending. Really appreciate it. Have a great day, everyone. See you soon.
Great New Year and a happy holiday.
Thanks, everyone.
Until then.
Bye, guys.
Bye.